too late at any age.
Good morning and welcome to the Indy Boomer Show. I'm Mary Pat McKee and I publish a magazine called Indy Boomer, which we will talk about in just a moment. I'm sitting here this morning with Wesley Young.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who is with Senior Solutions Consulting. He's been with us a few times and always has great information for us as far as Medicaid, Medicare, VA benefits, things people need to think about when it comes time either for yourself or you're still taking care of your folks to either get into a facility or just how to what's the word I'm looking at? Strategically place your money. Is that
Right,
good?
protect assets.
Protect assets. Wesley obviously can speak much better about it than I can. But let's go back to the magazine. Indy Boomer magazine is out. That's the May issue. I hope everyone enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend. But there's still lots of good information in the magazine. So pick it up at any Kroger or Marsh store in the Indianapolis and surrounding areas. Also this time we did something a little bit different. We put a pull-out section in the middle of the magazine. Just open it up to the middle where the feature story is and you'll see our little Boomer Plus. And this is where your information is in. It's the part of the magazine that is a resource guide for baby boomers who are helping their parents. So there's a lot of good information in here that may be helpful in that regard when you have to take care of your folks and that kind of thing. So Wesley, let's get started. We got a lot of information to cover. We always do. One of the things, and then, you know, I know more and more people this is happening to, say your spouse dies. How does that change the whole picture of the different things that you do?
Well, we obviously do Medicaid and veterans benefits, so we help folks that are in need, that are older and have age-related issues and health-related issues that cost a lot of money.
Yep.
And VA benefits is a way to pay for that. Medicaid benefits obviously help pay for nursing home care and those kind of things because the costs are just not. No one can afford to pay $8,000 a month on top of what they're already paying for the other spouse to live at home. So, when one spouse does die, there's a lot of things that people don't think about. One is that you're still a joint tax filer for that year.
Oh, you are?
So mom and dad,
Is there a minimum amount of months? I mean...
Well, for the rest of that calendar year. So let's say that dad dies in the summertime. Mm-hmm. Well, for the rest of that year, mom's still a joint tax filer. Well, what does that mean? Well, if mom wants to pull money out of an IRA or sell stock that has a gain in it or sell anything that would have a capital gain or a tax or a profit, she still gets to use, basically the double tax bracket of husband-wife.
Is it better then?
Oh yeah, because you get twice the tax bracket that you would as a single person, because come December 31st of that year, she's now going to be a single tax filer.
Okay.
So let's say that maybe the first $15,000 of an income of a single person is taxed at 10%. Well, maybe the first $30,000 is taxed at 10% for a couple. So if you want to pull money out of an IRA to say fix your roof, buy a refrigerator, buy a new car, you'll pay twice as much tax as a single tax filer.
I did not know that.
As you will as married filing jointly, because married filing jointly you get twice the bracket. So I get this much paying 10%, and a single person gets this much, and I get this much paying 25%, and a single person gets this much. So to sit and think about, well, gosh, I have all that stock back there, and I really could use a new roof. Well, if you sell it the year that the spouse dies, you'll pay half the tax on that you will if you wait a year or two and pull it out as a single tax filer. So we kind of look at a strategy of, well, what kind of money do you have? Where is it? What kind of gain do you have? Maybe we just pull some out to wash it anyway and put it in your checking or savings account.
Well, that was going to be my question.
Whether you have an expense or not, but really it's something that nobody would have thought about as my tax filing status, right? Because when do you think about taxes? April 14th and April 15th.
That's right.
That's it. So just, what is your tax filing status when somebody dies? If they die January 1st, you got the whole year. You're still a joint tax filer. If they die December 31st, it's kind of rough to get some planning in.
Yeah.
But the point is that's one thing people don't think about. Other thing is obviously legal documents. I'm not an attorney, but a well-crafted will says husband leaves to wife, wife leaves to husband, then to kids. So it's normally that doesn't need to be changed because if a spouse dies, it's automatically set up to go to the kids. But you have to look at that because once you die, those documents are locked up and they can't be changed. And if they're going the wrong way, especially in second marriages, right?
Second marriages, I've heard that can be a real issue.
Oh, yeah. For the kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, for the kids or even the second wife or husband or what spouse.
Yeah, because he or she could be left with nothing if it all went to the kids of the first spouse. So things like life insurance and annuities, IRAs, 401ks, life insurance, they all have beneficiaries. Well, the insurance companies that hold these products and financial companies are only going to pay to the named beneficiary. They're not going to pay to what your will says. They're not going to pay to what you've talked about at the dining room table.
Really? So the beneficiaries, like on a 401, would override what you put in a will?
Has nothing to do with your will. Your will is only there to collect the residue of the estate after everything else has been distributed.
Okay.
So IRAs, 401ks, annuities, life insurance, they all pay to a named beneficiary.
Okay.
Now, hopefully there's a contingent beneficiary that says if my wife dies, my kids get it.
Right.
But not everybody's astute at filling out paperwork, or a child could have passed, or you could have adopted or married again.
All different situations.
Yeah, so, how many times have you looked at the beneficiary of your 401k from your job? Back the day I started, that was 22 years ago, right?
Or 40 or whatever.
And I've remarried twice since. It's like,
yeah.
So, there's a famous case in New York where a gal was a teacher, and she named her mother as a beneficiary when she started teaching right out of college because she wasn't married.
Right.
And she named her mother the beneficiary. And then she got married and was married for like 30, 40 years.
And her mother must have passed.
Well, but yeah, and she died.
Uh-huh.
And her husband said, "Well, I'm the beneficiary of it." "No, you're not." It went to someone else.
Really?
Yeah, she never changed it.
Wow.
So the 401k company paid it to who the named beneficiary was. It was the wife
Well,
and then the husband.
They have to, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it didn't go where he expected it to go because they didn't look at their paperwork. So
Right.
all those things have named beneficiaries, and that's who Transamerica doesn't care what your will says. It says whoever you wrote on the paper gets it. If they're not here, they're looking for the next one.
Right.
So those need to be changed.
Okay.
Also, incomes are affected. Social Security says,
Oh, they changed all of that, didn't they?
yeah, let's say that that there's a $1,500 income coming into the house and a $1,200 income for mom and dad.
Right.
Doesn't matter who dies. The $1,500 income stays. The $1,200 goes away.
Okay.
Doesn't matter who passed away. The higher check always stays in the house. But
That's good.
that's good to know. But the bad news is that the $1,200 check's going away. So you were used to living on $2,700. Now you're getting $1,500.
That's a good point. That's a
Good news,
point.
bad news.
Yeah.
The pension. Now, when I'm gonna. Do a stereotype here and say dad, because dad worked in the factory and dad had the
they're
job.
the ones that had the pension.
But when dad retired, they put a piece of paper in front of him and had 4 or 5 boxes, and it said, "Do you want this amount of money and your wife gets nothing? Do you want this amount of money and your wife gets a little? Do you want this amount of money and she'll get the same? Or do you want a lot less and she'll get more at your death?"
Okay.
And he or she checked the box at retirement, 25 years ago when they retired, and that's what the spouse was getting on that pension. Nothing, some, or all.
Well, okay, you know what, we got to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about that, because what happens, aren't some of these people losing their pensions because the companies are changing the whole...
Yeah, pensions are going away, but a lot of the
Right.
85-year-olds have them still.
They still get them.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so if you're getting half the pension and one Social Security check, your income just got cut in half.
Right.
Your bills are the same.
Yep.
So-
No, I get it.
So
I totally understand that one. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a minute. Thanks.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
I should say my children are. We are back. Thank you. Welcome back to Indy Boomer Magazine's Welcome back to Indy Boomer Magazine show. Thank you for watching today. I'm sitting here this morning with Wesley Young, who is with Senior Solutions Consulting. He writes for us. Has been writing with us for a couple of years.
Yeah,
no, probably more than that. I think it's 3 or 4 by now. But anyway, excuse me?
I'm feeling old.
Well, we won't go there. We won't even talk about that. But anyway, I don't know. I have referred many people. What you guys do, and let me try and explain it, and then you can really tell people what it is you do. But he helps people who say your folks need to move into a retirement community, or something happens dramatic in your life, then you need to figure out your financials, where all the money is, how to place the money, especially if you need VA aid and attendance. I have sent many people to Wesley, and I know you've gotten several people through the magazine, the articles that you write. Before we go too much further, I do want to mention Indy Boomer Magazine. Pick it up at any Kroger or Marsh store. That is a Indy 500 car on the cover of that, and lots of good information in there.
Did you pick the winner?
No, never.
No.
Whoever was the best man is
that
one who won.
neat.
Well, it was amazing that young man won.
Yes, it was.
Yes, and good for him. Kind of funny.
He
It was.
He
a
was
rookie.
more surprised than anyone else.
I know, and I don't think he knew what to do. He didn't want to get out of his car when he pulled it into the lane. Anyway, were you one of the 350,000 that went to the race? No,
my family went, but not me.
Really.
So.
That was way too many people for me to deal with. But hey, anyway, let's go back to where we were. We were talking about if a spouse dies, how that can totally change your whole layout of what the financial picture is like.
Sure.
And so anyway, I guess bottom line, because we have some other things we want to talk about in this segment, but make sure you contact you guys at Senior Solutions Consulting.
Yeah, we don't charge to meet.
Right.
A lot of the law firms who do fine work, they like to charge $350 just to talk to you. We don't charge to do that and share information. And if we have something you like, fine. If not, that's fine.
Right, and you guys aren't attorneys, but you are able to direct. They're able to direct you to attorneys who maybe need to draw up papers for trust or all that kind of fancy stuff.
Attorneys too.
But what I like and what I keep hearing from people is you guys are creative. And come up with different scenarios. Well, you are, and finding that. I think there's a lot of myths out there about Medicaid and VA benefits.
Yes. And
can you tell us some of those?
Oh, I always love to ask my clients the myths, and it always comes back to neighbor Bob telling them that this happened, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. And I always say, what's neighbor Bob do? And he's always a plumber. Yeah. So, and bad news travels better than good news. So, when anybody says... Truth? When they come into my office, first of all, they're scared to death because the wife doesn't want to put the husband in the nursing home because all she's heard is what?
Oh, it's terrible.
Medicaid's going to take everything I have. They're going to put him in the basement. He's not going to receive decent care. Yeah. And I'm going to end up broke, and then my kids are going to end up with that debt. And not one of those statements is true.
There you go.
Not one. So Medicaid can't take your house. They can't take your car. We're able to protect at least half for a single person and 100% of the assets for a married couple.
Right.
With the HIPAA laws and Health Privacy Acts, most people in the nursing home are not even supposed to know who's on Medicaid and who isn't. There is no wings for Medicaid. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets the same room, the same service, the same dining room. Yeah. A lot of the new facilities all take Medicaid, so you don't have to go down to the worst part of town and find the seediest place to put your mom. Get her the nicest, newest place in town. Sure. All of those things are not true. Medicaid benefits are fantastic, mainly because if somebody has to go, they just opened a new place here in Carmel that's $275 a night, right there across from Matt the Miller's. It's a really nice place, but that's $8,000 a month. Well, mom's spending $2 to live at home, and dad's spending $8. That's $10. Who do you know makes $10,000 a month in retirement? Not too many folks in Indiana. So if you do make more than that, you don't need my help. Right. If you're the other 99%, you're really struggling.
You need to give them a call.
Because, you're afraid to get the care that you need because you're afraid that all these things are going to happen because neighbor Bob and everybody else has had terrible experiences. Well, they either did or didn't seek out counsel and didn't take advantage of the benefits that are available to them. So, again, trying to educate folks on what's available. Kids never are responsible for a parent's care in a facility. Now, they love to take paperwork and shuffle it in front of you and sign all this stuff. Well, one of those they like to sign is a responsibility form. So be real careful of what you're signing. Don't sign a form that says you're responsible for your parent's care and costs, because you're not. Right. So don't sign the form. So pay attention a little bit to what you're signing. Kind of like a mortgage closing. Here, sign all this, and if we made a mistake, well, you signed it, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
So be careful.
I've been on the other end of that, Steve.
Yeah. Other myths and things we hear, especially on the VA benefits.
Well, let me ask this. Let's go back to the Medicaid real quick. If dad is sick or something like that, how do they get Medicaid? Do they have to apply for it?
You have to be in a Medicaid bed, and you have to be financially qualified. You don't have to be indigent. Nowhere in the Medicaid rules does it say you have to be poor and broke. You just have to qualify.
Okay.
So folks that have their assets in the right spot qualify. They just passed a rule a year and a half ago that the stay-at-home spouse's IRA is untouchable. It doesn't matter how much it is, no matter how many commas you have.
Right.
That IRA is not countable as a resource anymore.
Oh, really?
So we just got somebody qualified who had a $500,000 IRA, but that's all she had, and her husband went to the nursing home. If we would have pulled
So they didn't look at that?
They looked at it, but they didn't count it.
Okay, well that's...
So had we pulled it down, she would have paid, add $500,000 to an $80,000 income.
Yeah.
How much tax are you going to pay? 35%. Well, now Uncle Sam's taking that half for taxes. The other half would have to get spent down for nursing home.
Right.
Wow, how many people have a $500,000 IRA? Not many, and there goes that one, right? So now I can set it aside and it's not touched. But a lot of people call me and say, oh, I have too much to qualify, or I don't, I want to go to the north side, I don't want to go downtown, or this or that. And all of those things are untrue. So really getting the truth is something we like to do. That's why we don't charge for our meetings, is come in and find out what we have to offer.
Right.
And what the rules allow you to do, and then you can make up your mind from there. Usually people leave so relieved.
Yes.
They go from here to giving us a hug on the way out the door because they had no idea that they could actually protect themselves and get the care they needed.
Right. Well, and I know we don't have time today, but you and I have discussed before about there is a new law where what made me think of it, you were talking about the IRA and the $500,000 and how they don't look at that. There's also a way to separate that with a husband and wife. What's the
Quadro?
The Quadro.
Yeah. One of the ways that we've determined to protect assets, if the wrong spouse has the IRA, right? So if the spouse going in the nursing home, which is dad,
right,
a lot of the time, has the IRA, then the IRS doesn't really just say, oh, take your IRA and give it to your spouse. It doesn't really work that way. But a Quadro, qualified domestic relations order, which is normally used in a divorce, I read the rules of that, and it doesn't say anywhere that it has to be for a divorce. So we've approached a few judges and had a few IRAs switched from one spouse to the other because it doesn't affect the taxes.
Right.
And it doesn't affect anything else other than just from one spouse to the other.
Possibly getting them help.
And now it's exempt for nursing home expense. So there's a way that we've kind of been outside the box to be able to protect somebody's assets that not everybody else has come up with.
Well, there's another
example.
What we
do.
Yep, that's what you do. And seriously, if you need help, make a phone call. I mean, like you said, it's free. Talk to these guys and see what they can do to help you. We've got to wrap the show up again today. Don't forget, pick up an Indy Boomer magazine at any Kroger or Marsh store in Indy and the surrounding counties. And of course, do not forget to watch Boomer TV on Sunday mornings at 10:30 on Wish with Patty Spittler. We've got a great lineup for you this week, and hope to see you all here next time. Take care. Thank you, Wes.
Thanks.